first thing we did was hit the road looking for birds. It's not necessarily the first thing you want to do when you get off the road after a 27-hour trip, but we went there on a mission and that's what we had to do. If you want to be successful, you've got to put your time in on the road, you've got to get your scouting in.
And even though you've done your homework, you've scouted them for hours, for days, it can still go wrong. But you're putting the odds in your favor by knowing these birds, by seeing what they're doing, when they're doing it, by knowing them and doing your homework. You're increasing your odds for a successful hunt.
Forecast not looking too good, 3 to 4 miles per hour all day. We'll stick in there, hopefully we'll do some good.
The sun starts to fade towards the horizon, you start to realize that we've got a shot at this. We can kill 100 snow geese in a day. In order to have a successful hunt, you need to do your homework the day before, 2 days before, to set up the day of the hunt. So scouting, where do you even begin? There's so much that goes into it. It's not just, let's go take a drive, we find birds, we're hunting. I think we all might have started off that way. There's still some of us that probably do that, and you can be successful that way. But day in and day out, it's not going to happen. You'll have your days, and you'll have a lot of days where, it's kind of a waste of time.
So that first day out, we went north of where we were staying a little bit. We found a pretty good sized flock of snows feeding right off the road, marked it, went just a little bit further north, found another concentration of birds. A little bit further than that, found another concentration. So we were right in the midst of a good concentration of snow geese.
Pretty much a whole quarter of barley. It's just loaded with snow geese. They're coming up off the roost to the north. Our scouting led us to a triangle, which they were loaded up this field to the north, to the south, to the west. We're kind of all in between. So we're going to give her a try this morning. It should be good. The only disadvantage to this morning is no wind. We drove probably 160 miles yesterday, come up with this, so hopefully we can get some wind. The forecast not looking too good, 3 to 4 miles per hour all day. We'll stick in there, hopefully we'll do some good.
Well, early during that hunt, it was foggy. The snow geese really couldn't see us until they got in tight. We couldn't see them until they got in tight. They were basically coming to the sound of the e-collar. We had the vortexes going because we didn't have any movement in the decoys, so that little bit of movement and their inability to see made him drop in, tight early in the day. The sun got higher in the horizon, their ability to see increased, and you could tell as fewer and fewer birds started working. Our 240, 300 decoys had no movement. If you don't have movement in a decoy spread, you're in trouble. And we didn't have movement. We had 2 vortexes going, and that's all we had. The fact that there was no wind meant that the snow geese could really come from anywhere. They could land anywhere. We were kind of set up on the outside, leading edge of the birds where the bulk of decoys were. We were supposed to have an east wind that day at 3 to 4 miles an hour, so not much at all. your ability to shoot is limited, but I mean, you can adapt. You can raise up out of that blind and maneuver around. But my ability to film, is drastically hindered when I can have birds coming from behind me. I can't film them until they get over the top of me, and then they get out in front of the blinds. So it made it hard that entire day, really. There would be snow geese come from behind, they'd come from the left, they'd come from the right, they'd come from the front, and it'd be pretty. But you never knew where they were going to come or where the shot was going to get called. You need a lot of snow geese to make a hunt successful, especially this time of year. If you're hunting them in the fall on their way south from the tundra, they're a different bird than what they are in the spring. They're not pushing as hard. And this hunt takes place, late September. The weather's warm. There's not going to be a migration of snow geese while we're hunting them. We are hunting birds that are in that area. They're coming out to feed. They're going back to roost. They're not migrating south. They're not migrating north. They're staging. The day that we scouted these snow geese, they were in a pretty big blob. As the day progressed, they kind of stopped working. We didn't have any wind. We had moved decoys around a little bit. We had pulled vortexes, added them, moved them. We'd kind of done everything that we could think of. If you're hunting honkers, you're hunting mallards, as opposed to snow geese, our scouting style is different. If you've got honkers, if you've got ducks, if you've got 1,000, 2,000 birds, it's something to get excited about. Chances are they're coming out in smaller groups. You're going to have multiple chances at them. With snow geese, if you've got 1,000 snow geese, they could very well come at once. So you want to have a lot of snow geese in the area in order to have a good hunt. In this situation we did. There was tens of thousands of birds just on these 3 roost holes. They weren't flying far to feed. We were kind of set up in a feed that was right in between everything. So if those birds decided to not come back to that feeding field, chances are they were still going to be using the area around us. So we were going to be in a good line, flying back and forth between roosts, between feeds. There was going to be action, even if our X was no longer an X. You need to do your homework the day before, 2 days before, to set up the day of the hunt. There's also something that we have done in the past that we actually did while we were in Canada. There were so many feeds on the ground, in the area of where we were hunting. Midday, once the birds kind of stopped working, we were able to, what I would call kind of a real-time scout. We drove 2 miles over to a feeding group to look to see what those birds were doing. Were they just sitting in the field, resting? Were they feeding? How were they arranged? Snow geese change so often. How they feed one day in a big mass, a big wad, the next day they might be in family groups. And that's exactly what happened on this hunt.
A big spread, but there's predominantly family groups. So we've come back, we've set out our spread, we changed everything up, we got a shooting hole in the front, and we got nothing but family groups. Pretty well closed it off up here with a blind.
By rearranging that spread, they were dropping in. It was doubles, triples, there might be a group of 4 or 5 do it. We never had a big tornado of birds that would drop in, but we were picking off, small groups every 10 minutes the entire afternoon. As you go through the afternoon, the hours pass, we've got 4 guns and a cameraman, and you're realizing that we've got a chance here. So we're swapping cameramen out. Ryan's getting a chance behind the camera. I'm getting a chance to shoot some, which I don't do very often. And as we're going through the afternoon and we're shooting a pair, shooting 3, shooting 4, we're killing, 10, 15 birds an hour sometimes. And you get to 3:30, 4 o'clock and, let's count them and really get a hard count as to where we're at. We've got a shot at this. The century mark for a snow goose hunter is, you know, kind of that mountain that you want to climb, that achievement that you want. You know, and then a small group comes in and we shoot the one that we need out of it, and that's it. We killed 100 snow geese that day. A 5-man limit. You know, granted, it's in Saskatchewan where you can use an e-collar. There's a lot of birds up there right now that have never seen a decoy spread, have never heard an e-collar, but you know what? It's 100 snow geese. No matter what way you put it, we still killed 100 of them that day. And killing 100 snow geese in a day is an achievement, whether it be, you know, in Saskatchewan in September or you do it in northwest Missouri in March. Yeah, it's probably more of an achievement in March in Missouri because there's way more pressure there. And those birds have been hunted for 8 months, but 100 snow geese is 100 snow geese, and I'll take it any day, anywhere.
Yeah, would you believe a 62-year-old man, and I've been laying in the layout line now for 10.5 hours. The young guys are fetching the birds, but I'm still wore out, and the backside gets a little bit tough too.
Go over there and touch it.
I don't want to hit my tire. No.
Started it, you know, back in the day. We've gotten wiser, you know, we've got families, we've got obligations. We can't just go to go. I don't like that. Why did I say that?